Welcome to Retro Upgrade. This time we'll be looking at a replacement for the Hunyuan 3D 2.0 I showed in the last episode. It's come to my attention that there is some restrictions on the license that are not good. For example, it's restricted in Europe, UK and Korea for some reason. I don't know why. And it actually specifically mentions the online sharing and stuff. So we'll be looking at a different model that does exactly the same and is pretty much on par with this one. And it's a surprising source actually, because it's Microsoft. They usually don't make open source stuff. And this is called Trellis, and it's quite good. It has one extra feature that the other one doesn't, so that makes it good. It's under the MIT license, so you're fully open to do whatever you like with it, and you can run it locally with about 6 gigabytes of VRAM, so it doesn't take as much resources as well to run locally. And of course there are online versions of this as well. They will eventually release the text-based models, but for now it's just image to 3D, and the model is about 1.2 billion parameters, so that's good enough. In Hugging Face, if you go to the spaces, you can get Trellis, and there are a lot of them. Just choose one of these and that should be fine. Just pick the first one here. And you have a lot of test objects on the bottom. You just click one of those or upload an image by yourself. It removes the background automatically, just like the other one. There is a few differences. This is the multi image workflow. So you can actually add images, so it doesn't need to guess the side or the back. So you can get a consistent character generated. There is one issue with this. So this slider right here, it simplifies the mesh, and the minimum you can go is 0.9%, so it's 90%, let's say. But I want to go lower, so I get a higher definition mesh, because I tried the highest and lowest setting, and the mesh barely changes. I will show how to install this locally and actually fix that, so you can go down to 0.1 even, and gives you a really dense mesh. So you see here, it does a very decent job actually. The details are there, it looks nice. And this has one extra step, obviously. As you can see, for the download button is still grayed out, so you need to extract the GLBD, or GLB, sorry. And when you're extracting the GLB, it depends on the simplification steps on how long it takes. So the less simplification, the longer it takes. So if you go to 0.5, let's say, it will take twice or 3 times as long. But considering you don't need to model this by hand, it's pretty good. It saves a lot of time if you're going to do something from scratch. And this looks pretty good. I will not complain. As you can see here, the surface is quite good. So it's at 0.95, that's the standard. Just bump up the texture size. There's no reason why. I sped up the video here, so you don't need to wait. 0.9 is the highest you can go in quality. Let's call it quality, I guess. Quality is better, obviously. It has more mesh. I have imported these in Blender, and I'll show that later. The difference between the modded and the non-modded. And the lower you go, the more defects you have, like the small holes there. So the difference is in the, let's say, mesh from the Hunyuan, that it has some small holes, and sometimes it has, let's say, volumes inside the object. So it empty space. And for 3D printing, that's really bad. Okay, so if you want to install it locally, you can use the one-click installer. It's a GitHub repository that's under forks, actually. And just go to the first fork that's in the main GitHub repository. I will leave a link to this one and the original one. And that's actually wrong. It actually works with 8 gigabytes without any issues. I've already seen how much it eats up, so it's fine. But you can run it at full precision or half precision. So just download the zip file. It's literally one click install. You don't need to download the model. You don't need to install Python. Nothing of that. It makes its own virtual environment and makes you a file you can just load and run. So it's quite easy to get this working locally. You can obviously use the online thing, but you are limited to a few times a day because of GPU usage and stuff. It's still free though. And this takes a while. It's a lot of files. I'm just extracting this. I have a specific drive on my computer that I put all the AI models. It's just half a terabyte, so I don't have a lot of space there, but I do have my entire video setup and image generation setup on it. So yeah, I also run my own LLMs, so it takes up a lot of space. Okay, so first of all, just run the environment's bat file. So it creates the virtual environment, and press more and run anyway. This is just because it's not signed, the actual application, so it can be harmful to your computer, but this is made by Microsoft, so don't worry too much. So if you want to do the low VRAM stuff, you can run the FP16. Otherwise, you just run the one that's named without the FP16 tag, and you should get full precision. That requires about 12 gigabytes of VRAM. So, and run the one that has the Gradio name. Gradio means it has a interface instead of a DOS prompt. It will only ask you once if you want to run it or not. Now, the first run takes a while because it will download all the packages, install everything it needs, and download the actual model that takes up about 3 gigabytes. The license is quite flexible. It has everything included, so you can do whatever you like with it, even commercial stuff. There's a lot of information here. Now a quick word from my sponsor, PCBWAY. In today's fast-paced electronics world, your ideas deserve a partner that can handle every step. That's where PCBWAY comes in. From custom PCB designs, rapid prototyping, precision assembly, and advanced manufacturing, PCBWAY is your one-stop solution with the state-of-the-art technologies, rigorous quality control, and unbeatable customer support. They transform your concepts into reality, faster and better than ever. Experience the power of full-service manufacturing. Let PCBWAY bring your projects to life. They also have a extremely nice community-driven webpage where they share projects. Start now from $5 for 10 PCBs and make your dreams a reality. Now back to the video. Okay, so you can see here there are a bunch of 3D models, and mostly of them are created with the text to 3D. This is still not released, but it will be in the future, so don't worry about that. But the image to 3D is really useful because it has the multi-view thing. So if you draw, let's say, a 2D image from 3 sides, it will become 3D because it will get a spatial awareness from the multiple images. Like I had to do with in the last video, 2D image from one side needs to be 3Dified with image generator, so it can take out the details from that. So that's also true for this one. You can see some cool examples here. So all the pieces you see falling down are made one by one with the 3D modeler, and they have just prompted text prompts to get these. And these are actually game-ready models, in my opinion. They're fairly detailed. Let's check if this is done. Still nothing. Don't worry about the Triton error. Triton is a way to speed up things, but it requires very specific hardware. When this is done, you get a link. You see the HTTP link there. Control click that, and it will open it in the browser for you. There we go. And it's actually exactly the same as you had on Trellis or on the Hugging Face page. It works as well. I have a 3090 GPU, so I have a decently fast GPU. It's not the newest one, it's 2 versions old, but it's the top end card from Nvidia a few years ago. But it's still good enough to run this without any issues. And 6 to 8 gigabytes is recommended for this if you run it at half precision. That's FP16. I'm running it at FP32 here, so it's a little slower than it will be for you. I used one of the models that they came with the 3 images, and if you generate it with one, you can see here that it guesses what's on the backpack. So it's not the actual backpack it has and the real object. Okay, time to fix the settings I promised. So you can get a more detailed object out of this model. That doesn't really require much. You go into the folder, then go into code, and go into the gradio_main.py file. Edit it with your favorite editor. I'm using Notepad++, and I look for 0.9, which is one of the minimum values. And there you have it, mesh simplify. So I just changed the range pretty much in the slider. And I save the file, of course. You have to restart the model. It doesn't take as long as it did the first time, obviously, because everything's already downloaded. You need to close the do's prompt window on the bottom. I opened 2 of them just because the computer can handle multiple versions of this model at the same time. In my VRAM, I have 24 gigs, so I can probably run 4 or 5 copies of this. So there's no real issue here. And like I said, don't worry about the Triton error. You don't need it. If you get Triton working, it's really hard to get it working, but if you do, you get a speed bump of about 30%. But it requires a specific card, specific drivers, and it's too much hassle for that improvement actually. Then you click on the link again. Now it's loaded. And if we go if we load an image and generate the mesh again, let's use this one again because I like the model actually. You can see we can go down to 0.1 now in the simplify. So I'll leave it at 0.5. I found that that's a sweet spot. It doesn't mutilate the image. So I sped this up quite a lot because when you press the extract button, it takes about 3 times as long when you add more detail. I would have bump up the texture as well, the file up to 2064, but for now it's fine. And you can see here that it's really smooth compared to the other one. I'll open them in Blender so you can actually see the mesh difference. But it is worth it doing this mod. let's say that, because it makes it a lot easier. There is one core difference. You need to listen to this. You need to weld the vertices because this has small holes or gaps that you can't see. But when you smooth this, it will open it up, let's say, and the gaps get bigger. So let's open Blender up. I have way too much stuff on, but that happens when you record. This is the low poly, and let's download that as well. Okay, so enough prep. Let's go to Blender. Let's remove the cube and drag in both. Now, it will look weird because I had two objects in the same space. You can see the garbled mess. Let's just move one to the side, and it's not obvious immediately which one is which until you look a little closer. The right one is the high precision model. It took double the time to extract, but this looks really nice. Okay, so if I went and remeshed this immediately, there is a possibility that some of the vertices are not welded to each other. So what you need to do is go into select your model, and then go into tools or modifiers, pretty much, and then add a weld modifier and put it to the minimum setting, so 0.01. You can also use a specific mode, high quality mode and stuff. You can see here that it goes down in quality if you go too high with it. So apply it, and then you can actually just remesh this if you want to, or solidify. Solidify removes all the internal volumes. So if it has small gaps inside, or let's say it has an open mouth and it goes down the throat, and yeah, too much detail pretty much. Solidify actually makes a solid object. Don't play with the settings too much, because you can see here it breaks the model pretty much. So just leave it at the default 0.01. You can also go, instead of simple, you can go complex at the top here on the mode, and you can go a lot more detailed, but I didn't see any difference, so they're not really worth it. The calculation time takes a lot longer. Now, why do this? Of course, you can actually now sculpt on this. So this is a complete mesh. It doesn't have any voids inside. It will not deform incorrectly, let's say. But the vertices are triangles instead of squares. Now, this poses a problem, obviously, because when you sculpt, it's expecting square polygons. Quads, or whatever you want to call them, and sometimes those tools that are used to sculpt break during usage of triangle polygons. So let's go over to the sculpt mode. As you can see, with the texture it looks phenomenal, but the texture hides a lot of defects, obviously. Okay, so let's try the sculpt. I'm just going to sculpt a crease, and it looks decent enough. For 3D printing, this is actually okay, and you don't need to simplify the model or remesh the model anymore. But if this is going to be used in a game and you want to add some detail, for example, a broken stomach or whatever, I'm using the shift button to smooth it here. You can see some breakage. So you go back to object mode and then add a remesh modifier. You can do it in the sculpt mode as well, but I can't remember how to, so this is the easiest way. And then just drag this until it looks good, pretty much. This can really take a long time, because yeah, you can see how many polygons I added. But it's worth it when you're going to sculpt. If you want to emboss a logo or whatever you want, that will help a lot with a lot of polygons. And you can see very high quality sculpting, obviously. So and then you do exactly the same as the last video I showed. You put it into Cura and you just 3D print it. Thank you for watching until the end. Subscribe if you like it. Hopefully this helps someone that can't use the Hunyuan because of the restrictions. Have a nice one. Bye.